So hey, looking for a new cornbread stuffing, or maybe you've just been confused about trying to find something that's not super dry. This one right here, that's amazing, Ange.
Hello friends, and welcome to Art of Creation Homestead again. This is Angela, and welcome to our kitchen. Again, we are doing yet another Thanksgiving recipe. Today I am showing you how to make cornbread stuffing or dressing, whichever you call it, wherever you're from. So I may use it interchangeably throughout this tutorial. So just tell me in the comments below whether you call it stuffing or dressing. This may be considered dressing because we're not stuffing it into anything. We're not stuffing it into the turkey. I would rather have cornbread stuffing or dressing. I would rather have it in a pan baked by itself rather than stuffed in the bird. Okay, so here we have a pan of cornbread that I baked earlier today. You can bake it and let it sit in the refrigerator overnight. That's probably the preferred way. I baked this early this morning and it's been in the refrigerator all day, so it's good. And we're crumbling it up. If you don't know how to make cornbread, you can buy a store-bought cornbread, or you can buy a cornbread mix and use it. Just make sure that it's not like the Jiffy cornbread muffin mix that is super sweet, that tastes like cake. Make sure that there's not a lot of sugar in it, because sweet cornbread is not good in southern cornbread dressing. This is probably about 4 cups of crumbs, anywhere from 3 to 4 cups of crumbs. I'm not making a huge pan because it's just me and Jason. But if you are making this to take to your family gathering, or if you are making this for a large crowd, it's easily doubled or tripled or whatever. But I know some of you have said that you would like for me to do a video on how I make my cornbread. I am working on that. There's one thing. I am working on formulating that recipe, because I have been making cornbread for years. I learned how to make cornbread from my mom, but I learned how to make cornbread from my mom without measuring. I just take a certain size bowl, pour in cornmeal till it looks right, and pour in flour till it looks right, and so on until it looks right. So I'm working on formulating it and actually having cups and teaspoons and tablespoons and measurements. So it's going to take me a little bit. So we have that pan of cornbread crumbled up, nice and good. It's all crumbled up. Now we are going to go over to the stove and I'm going to show you the next step. Okay, in this skillet over medium heat, we have a half a stick of butter, which is 4 tablespoons, which is 1/4 of a cup. So now we are going to let that butter melt. Our butter is all melted up now. And to that butter, we are going to add 4 stalks of chopped celery. At this point, you can also add onion. You can also add about 3/4 of a cup of chopped onion. But onions sometimes can tend to stay a little crunchy, and I don't want crunchy bits of onion in my dressing. So I'm going to add some onion powder instead. I'm going to add about 1/2 to 3/4 of a teaspoon of onion powder. And to this, we are also going to add some salt. You want to add a couple of good pinches, because this is to season up everything. So you're going to add a couple of really good pinches. But then again, that's to taste as well. Okay. Now, you want to stir that around. And to this, we are going to add about a teaspoon of chopped rosemary from our humongous rosemary bush. If you do not like fresh rosemary, then you can leave that out. We love fresh rosemary around here. And if you do not have fresh, then you can use about a half a teaspoon of dried rosemary. It will work just fine. Now, you want to saute up your celery until it's all tender. You want it to be completely tender. And yes, that is a lot of butter. It looks like too much butter for it. The butter is to help moisten your stuffing or dressing. I'll be back when it's tender and show you what it looks like. Okay, our celery is nice and tender now, and as you can see, there's still a lot of butter in there. That's going to be delicious in this dressing. Now we're going to take it off the heat, set it aside, and let it cool down a little bit because you don't want it going in there hot. Okay, now our celery and our butter has cooled down, so we're ready to add everything because you want that cooled because you're going to add eggs to this. You don't want it to scramble your eggs. So now to our cornbread crumbs, we are going to add about 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of poultry seasoning. Now, it's up to you how much you want to add. That's the reason I said 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons. It's up to you how much you want to add. I added about 1.5 teaspoons because I already added that rosemary. So I don't want it to be too herby. You can also add sage to this if you like sage in your dressing. You can also add sage. Okay, now we are going to put in our celery and butter. And if you added onions at this point, you will put that in as well. Now you want to mix that all in. And as you can see, that butter is already starting to moisten up our cornbread. Now, right here, we have 1.5 cups of chicken broth or turkey broth. You can pull the broth from your turkey as it's roasting and throw it in here, or if you don't have that, you can just use some chicken broth. Now, you may not need all of this. It depends on how much your cornbread actually absorbs. So we're only going to add 1 cup right now. And remember, there's more liquid going in here in the form of eggs. So that's about 1 cup. So you want to stir it up really good. You want it to be very moist. Almost soupy, just to be honest. Now we're going to add some more. Now I'm just going to go ahead and add the rest of it. It's going to take the whole 1.5 cups. And at this point, it depends on a lot of stuff. It depends on how your day is. If your day is really dry, and how moist your cornbread is. You may have to add even a little bit more than that. So I added just a little bit more just to be on the safe side. So it's probably between 1 and 2 cups. At this point, you want to taste it for seasoning. You want to see if you have enough poultry seasoning. You want to see if you have enough salt and pepper. Because once you put the egg in, you don't want to taste it then. So you want to make sure that you have enough of everything. I'm going to add just a little bit more poultry seasoning. And I'm going to add a little bit more salt and pepper. Now at this point, you want to add in 2 beaten eggs. I have beaten them really well. You want to make sure they're completely beaten up. You want to thoroughly assault them. Now, you want to mix those eggs in. You want to mix them in really well. You don't want any streaks of eggs in there because they're going to scramble in there. And you're going to have scrambled eggs in the middle of your dressing, and that's not going to be good. So you want to mix all that together. And now, at this point, you want to leave this to sit. You want to cover it with some plastic wrap. You want to leave it to sit for about 10 to 15 minutes so that it can absorb some of this liquid. I'll be back and show you what you do next. Now our cornbread stuffing, our cornbread dressing has set. And see, it's absorbed a lot of that. Now, we have, this is a 2.2 quart baking dish. I know that's odd. It's about 11 by 7. So we're gonna throw it into the pan. Don't throw it. Just lightly pour it into the pan. Don't throw it. Okay, now we're gonna smooth it out really good. Just smooth it out. Get it all smoothed into every corner. Get it all smoothed into every corner. And there we go. Now it's all spread out, all smoothed out. Now, you want to put this in a 400-degree oven, and it's going to take about 25 to 30 minutes, depending on your oven. So we're going to put this in the oven, and then I'm going to go out and finish doing our night chores, and then we'll come in and it should be done by then. Our cornbread dressing is out of the oven. You know it's done when it no longer jiggles in the middle. See, it's no longer jiggling. It's nice and set up. When you push on it, it's nice and set up. It's going to be set up, but it's still going to be moist inside. And also it has a little brown around the edges. That's when you know it's done. Now we're going to let it cool down just a little, and then we'll let Jason taste it.
Okay, so here we are. You're used to a dry cornbread stuffing, right? Well, this is not dry. This is going to be super moist. I can already tell it. And I'm going to give it a little taste, okay? Oh, whoa. That's a beautiful flavor from the rosemary and everything Angela Kay did to it. Not dry in the slightest. Angela Kay did an amazing job with this one. So hey, looking for a new cornbread stuffing, or maybe you've just been confused about trying to find something that's not super dry. This one right here, that's amazing, Ange. You did a great job with it. So hey, thank you guys for watching so much. My name is Jason. That's the brilliant one over there. Her name's Angela Kay. This has been Art of Creation Homestead. I love you guys. God bless you and goodbye.